What's going on, everyone? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. Hope you all are doing well. Obviously, we're looking at another big day in the markets. Things continue to be trading pretty volatile. This feels like a day that we're in control of. Looking forward to getting into it with you. Gonna give everyone a second here to get into the room. Say hi. Good morning, King. What's going on? Jesse, Thomas, Roman. Imran King. All right. Um, by the way, looking over here at the S&P, you could see ever since those jobless claims came in this morning, what they come in, I don't know, 6.5 or 7, 6.6 million. I shouldn't laugh. That's terrible. Markets initially sold off here, equity markets, the futures, and then have since retraced that fall. Well, here, we were all the way up here when that happened. We've retraced all the way back up into this area of resistance as the markets are just opening now. Let's see. Hey, listen, I would not be surprised about anything these days. So although I would expect this to weigh heavy on the markets, if they come in and reverse and sell up today, anything could happen. I still remain short from my entry all the way up here. It's well, normally on the normal circumstances, this trade would already be a home run. But volatility is what it is. So I'm holding for the grand slam. If the price reacts adversely to the news today, meaning if the jobless claims were horrendous, and all of a sudden if you see price come in and reverse that and then trade higher, all right, ultimately it's not what should make sense, it's what the market does. Follow price action, and that would be a signal that for whatever reason the market is pricing in whatever it chooses to price in. Now, we do have tomorrow non-farm payrolls, and that also should be a disaster of a print. And I don't think that anytime soon that this data is going to improve. On the contrary, I do think it's going to continue to get worse and worse. Looking forward till next week. I don't really see anything on the calendar except for I don't see anything on the calendar that should really affect the markets. All right. So you do see here that the S&Ps have turned positive. I think the futures were up. I don't know. Maybe the highest I saw them was 1.25. Maybe they went up to a point and a half. I'm not really sure. But the dollar is looking pretty good today. The dollar is looking very strong. A little stronger than the Japanese yen, but only a little. We'll check that out in a minute. Things are obviously flowing and changing. Jesper, Rad, Gene, Dinkar, Mima. Got a full house today. Carbo. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Glad to see you all. A smile on my face. We're looking here at the DXY. This is going to take us only a few moments to look at. And I want you to see here that we were looking at this triangle pattern to decide which way we were going to go to next. We broke right now to the upside, which means to me that there's a solid chance that we're at least coming in towards, I have it around 102, but it's 101.75. That's the target that I'm looking for to see how price reacts. Does that mean that we go straight up there? No, but as long as we hold the breakout, we're in good shape. Obviously, often what happens is, nothing straight up or down, to see even a pullback down and to test this broken resistance and support before going up. Well, that could all, that would all make sense. I want to get into something that was brought to my attention before we get into things regarding the Australian dollar, Swiss franc, and the New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. And I want to just look at those trades because they have not really fallen into profit. Before we do that, just one quick thought on my mind. That was the Japanese yen was clearly the way to go. I went with the Swiss franc. Let's look at them. Now, I'm going to start with the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc only because it's up on the day. It's up 0.2%, where the Australian dollar Swiss franc is actually down, and this is starting on the daily time frame. And the question is is this trade still valid? It's not really falling into profit, and I could see these long wicks here on the monthly. Are the sellers losing steam? And perhaps this is rolling over, and this should be a buy. And so right now, first of all, let me say once more, I'm not surprised about anything that will happen in the markets, especially during these times, because these are uncharted waters we're in, right? But the thing is this is an incredibly high risk off environment. We did see twice this waterfall down was a bit much, and then over here also this was a bit much. Price came back down, retrace. It's normal behavior for a market that water falls off to then bounce back. Now generally it's a dead cat bounce. Sometimes you have a V-shaped recovery. You saw that on the S&P during 2018, where you had the market all of November into December come all the way down, bottom towards the December 27th, and then went straight up. It's a V bottom. Look, this is the resistance over here, right over here. And if we do trade above that resistance, then I could say that this current trade is wrong, and I'll be stopped out of it. But even still, my risk is limited compared to my reward on the trade. So I'm sticking with the trade. When I do enter a trade, which is obviously dependent on my analysis, I stick with that trade. I don't let the market take me out of it unless my analysis is proven wrong. Now, there's still a lot to go over here. I do believe the environment we're in is really risk off. This is a great way to play it. I absolutely would be involved with the Japanese yen if it were not for the Bank of Japan meeting next week. And I'm a little cautious about what's going to happen in the reaction to the yen there. Now, if we do trade above this trade and come up into the next resistance, I'm still shorting into this resistance happily also, because I do believe the month of April is going to be pretty bad. It's going to be pretty bad, and you can see that, the latest press conferences inside the U.S. is preparing the people for that. You could see the tone shifted this week. It's something that we knew. We're expecting towards the end of April, perhaps early May, for this thing to peak inside the U.S. Best case scenario, which means that things are going to get worse. That means that people are not going back to work. That means that a lot of businesses continue to suffer. That things are just not moving. Trades don't always work out in the time frame that we want, but for here, patience definitely warrants it. I also do see, you could look at these two big long wicks over here and say, wow, well, maybe there's just, the sellers ran out of steam. But over here, you could see into this resistance, you could see a lot of wicks also. That means that there are no buyers up there. All right. So I'm holding strong, and I hope that's a clearer look. And I do value the other side of that, and discussing and figuring out, hey, wait, is it time to get out of this? So the time to get out of the trade for me will be if we break this resistance and I'm stopped out, and then again, I will shorten to this heavy resistance down over here. Hopefully neither one of these events happen, and we get this winds out to really wind down over the next few days. And not only that, this is a trade I'm looking to hold. Probably taking the first piece off. This is a couple of hundred pips down. I'm looking for a test and or break here of the lows. I hope it happens. Again, I've been building up that portfolio for this type of event, and this is an event that we're in right now. We are in a financial crisis, and I don't think S&P is now up 0.25%. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. All right, let's do a quick rundown over here. Bad results and strong dollar. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense because, in the past, we could be looking at, well, this number was really bad for the U.S. economy, right? So that should be a weaker dollar. But that's not the case right now. We're all in this together. This is a global event, and as it is, the U.S. dollar is the reserve currency. There's an enormous amount of a shortage of dollars right now, and bigger picture, a lot. There was in the last report, there was a lot of U.S. treasuries being sold by foreigners, and this means that they had to do this not because they wanted to, because they needed dollars. So they're selling their US treasuries in order to get those dollars. That's a bad sign, because once they run out of treasuries to sell, two things are happening. Number one, the Federal Reserve needs to go ahead and step in and monetize the debt, which is gonna lead to a weak dollar later on, or the collapse of the dollar, but a loss of faith in the banking system. But more importantly, shorter term is just once you run out of treasuries to sell, where do you get dollars? There's a lot of debt that needs to be serviced that denominated in US dollars. I think that's why we were seeing the US dollar move up in this type of environment. Okay. And so, King, that's a good one to start at this morning as we continue to get into our analysis and look across the board. I want to start over there with the pound US dollar, because the pound has been pretty strong. Pound is very strong. You're looking at a strong dollar, and here's the pound consolidating. So this is actually very nice to draw our attention over here. And the reason why I say that, but I want to start on the daily first, just to get a really good look at this. So two things. The first thing that I noticed is we've all been through this, right? Because this happened all together. Hold on. It's so funny, because all of this together, we've traded through. I'm sorry. Yep. Since November. All of this we traded through. And then since we broke down hard. Okay. Now, again, we talked about after you get an overreaction to the downside, normally you see that huge spike up. So number one, this looks like we're in an area of resistance. Now, it's not easy for me to see as it is. Hold on. Yeah, it's not easy for me to see. I see the touch over here where this was support, and then I see where this was resistance. So you could see that this is an area of also resistance, and price is having trouble right there. Now, this is a place to actually lean into short. Could it go up higher? Absolutely. If it regains this resistance here, I do think, well, that number one, go back to the DXY, that means the dollar probably failed this little bit of a small breakout it has right now, that triangle. And if this happens, then we could climb back up, and there's still a few hundred pips into the next area of resistance, which was the big breakdown area. But right now, I have to lean towards that strong dollar. This looks like a good area to lean in. However, the pound is relatively strong to the dollar. So it's not really necessarily the smart play until you start getting some momentum. Now, where could you start getting some momentum? Possibly to the downside. Now, I have this area of support marked in over there at 0.12297. That's still pretty far from market, about 70 pips higher. You start breaking down below there, and then the sellers will pile in and come in and probably push this down into the next area of support. It doesn't really make sense why price is consolidating to take a position in this trade right here. This is not the same thing as, for example, the Australian dollar or New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, which is consolidating at resistance, but it's a risk off play, and we're in a risk off environment. Pound US dollar is not necessarily a risk off type instrument. Pound doesn't do well in risk off type environment, so you could say a little bit, but it's not like one of the the symbolic pairs of risk off, as is Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen, and Swiss franc. So this looks bearish. It looks like it's consolidating in this area of resistance, and I think the next move is going to be down. But price has got to let us know. You have these two areas of resistance and support. You can simply just set an alert, and when it happens, get involved, because right now price is just neutral and sideways. S&Ps now are trading very erratic, up and down, getting people shucking all around. But the Dow is leading to the downside so far this morning. It was leading a little bit to the upside. Before we keep going, let's look at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is at an interesting area. So this area of 64, 69, I thought was pretty important. It's now trading back above it. Now you do have right now the equity markets trading down with a negative bias, Bitcoin trading up, gold leading the way to the upside. So we're going to look at gold next. That's pretty important. Is Bitcoin and gold breaking that? When you're in a waterfall down, everything then at that point is correlated almost, which is why when you saw the markets getting rocked 2 weeks ago, you saw gold trading down, Bitcoin trading down, but that only holds inside of a liquidity crisis. Right now, I think what the Fed has done has put a floor in that. We will see if things are really broken or right now. I'm still in the belief that at any time we could see this dollar crisis come right back to the forefront because things are not fixed at all. But right now, I'm in the camp that their action, that's $6 trillion, 4 trillion from the central bank, and then 2 trillion from the U.S. Gov is probably enough to put up a couple of band-aids right now. And so it's possible that gold and Bitcoin really get pretty sharply uncorrelated right now, and we start seeing a jump in both of them. I'm leaning cautiously bullish right now. When I saw the price action last night off of Bitcoin over here, I had a little trend line over here. And on the break of that trend line, I got long over here. I can't say I'm confident in the position. But I'm hopefully optimistic. If we do break above this area over here, I'll call it even. I'm going to call it even higher. I'm going to call it 69. If we burst above there, I think we're coming up into to around 82, 8,300. And I don't think that will happen too long. I think we're going to come into this resistance line. Well, I don't know. All right. So between 81.70 and 84, somewhere in that area. All right. I have no idea where it'll be. Yes, I have no idea. I have no idea where it'll be. And I think that will be then cause a pullback to test this trend line. If that does then hold and we start trading up, that's super, super, super bullish. I don't know. I think this is about 40 days or so until the halving takes place. So Bitcoin is looking pretty solid here. If you're looking for 5,000 and 4,000 Bitcoin, that happened. That happened earlier in March. Silver leading the way today, pretty explosive. I personally was thinking and hoping yesterday as price was coming down, I said, oh, look, I'm going to get another chance to take a look at $12 silver or lower. And I suppose that's pretty greedy, but hey, listen, I'm still holding out. I'm going to wait. If we do break above this area, this resistance area on silver, and put it up a little bit higher, at 14.79, I'm going to set an alert also. At that point, and we start breaking out to the upside, that's something that I might want to get involved in. I'm going to be interested. I put it that much. Does this look like a possible bottom? So, this is really important because what's the difference between the New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, and this? Because they both hit a downtrend. This is pulled up into a resistance area. Well, the one difference between precious metals and a risk-off asset like the New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, yen, or Swiss franc is that precious metals and Bitcoin, hard assets, hard money, were built for this environment. They were built for a loss of faith in the central banking system and or inflation, right? Or deflation. They'll protect your purchasing power in a deflationary type environment as well. It looks like now that actually with all the money being printed, that we're probably going to be headed into an inflationary type of situation. Yes, I'm still worried about a deflationary type of environment as well, and or depression. Listen, that's not an easy thing to figure out. So right now, if following the charts, if they do break out this further resistance, well, then I'm going to think that they could shoot up pretty hard back up towards 16 and a half, 17 and a half pretty quickly, and I'm going to follow them and not get left behind, because ultimately I think we're going much higher than the highs put in over here. Now, do I think that we still have a chance of taking out or testing these lows? Yes, I do. I firmly believe that at any moment, the big bad king dollar could raise its head, and we could have a big problem in the system. And that's why I also think that I have to be aware and play it my risk accordingly. That Bitcoin could also trade down significantly lower from where it is now as well. Gold, trying to get cute, looking for to pick up paper closer to 1550, 16, not 16, 1580, and it didn't happen. We we did trade down towards 1567. So yeah, had my chance. I thought we were going to consolidate down here. That's what I told all of you. I thought we would break this down and then consolidate down over here. This was more of a bing bing. I'm not. I'm actually a little more bit bullish silver than I am gold right here. I'm standing aside and I'm waiting. If we trade back above 1645, I'll say, okay, wait, maybe this is getting away from me. But right now, I'm going to continue to show patience and just wait. Right? I want to pick up more gold on paper. I want to listen. There's a big price difference between the paper market and the physical market right now. Don't believe the hype. I think that dealers are taking advantage of the situation. They're marking up premiums. What I'm looking to do is throughout all of this, if things align, if the stars align, and I'm able to pick up some paper, gold and silver, I will do that. And then at a later date, at a later date, when the premium on the physical markets have come back down, and or my paper trade allows for it, I will then take profits on that and convert it into the physical stuff. But right now I'm on the side. Oh man, Bitcoin. Oh wait, Martin, we looked at Martin, Mr. Jazz. We looked at the pound, uh pound US dollar in pretty strong detail. I don't know if you guys just jumped in and missed that. We didn't look at the euro US dollar. Let's do that next. But just a quick overview for you guys on the pound US dollar. We're consolidating into this resistance. Pound has been very strong versus the US dollar this past week. Well, not past the week, on this run up. And then this past week, why the dollar, for example, against the euro has regained, yen and pound remain strong. Now, generally speaking, in a risk off environment, the pound doesn't perform well. Here it is holding up pretty well, but this is kind of an overblown reaction to the downside and then retrace to the upside. Get above this resistance, okay, then you could get long, or you could get long here, because you have into this next resistance to look for things to get held up. But right now, I have to have a bearish bias towards the pound. Even still, you're trading very neutral. You're trading sideways, and why I think that we break down, it doesn't make sense to be in a market that is consolidating sideways here. Again, this is a different situation than the New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, which is actually a risk off asset. And we are in that type of environment. But over here, you break down below this support at 12297. And then, yes, break above this resistance. Okay. So set an alert for both of them and wait it out. For today, you shouldn't be involved in that, I don't think. Is it possible that we did hit a double top up here, or close to it, because we didn't hit the exact same prints? But yeah, when you see this type of price action where you come up to the upside and then down, you catch a lot of traders on the wrong side. Dollar strong today. It broke out of our little pattern. I wouldn't be surprised if the pound breaks down today versus the dollar. Look at that. This was made things easy for everyone. But you know, uh, you gotta show that discipline as a trader, and you're not trying to be preemptive. You're trying to take signals that are valid signals. You're not trying to jump in ahead of time because you think the pound is going to fall, right? Because I think the pound US dollar is going to break down over here. I'm going to get short here. Well, no, that's not good trading. Wait for the confirmation, then get short. Because if you don't have good habits, you have bad habits, and then you're just going to lead to a loss of money. Euro US dollar is down 1% on the day. Don't get tricked by my voice. I'm totally stoked about that. So zooming out over here. Listen, I'm holding short, and I'm just not looking to give up that short. I can't really see any areas of interest down over here of take profit. I do have over here. I see this little bit. Let me zoom in over here. Let me go on the daily. Nope. I think the closest support you have down here is the support line we have in at 1.07760. Hey, listen, that makes sense to watch how price reacts. If you do, price gets held up there and you get a rejection, well, at that point, I think we do have to be looking at a possible head and shoulders, reverse head and shoulders. Now, I'll be aware of that if that happens. I'm not looking for that to happen. I'm looking for a retest actually down here and the break of it. We'll see. But right now, I'm with the dollar, and I'll continue to hold. Let's look at the dollar just to get, because it's a little bit clearer. And yeah, this alert I have in over here at 101.77. Well, once we reach up there on the dollar, then I can take a look at what's going on with the euro. So next week, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but next week I'm looking for the dollar to strengthen versus the yen. I'm looking for the Bank of Japan to come in there and weaken the yen. And if that doesn't happen, if the Bank of Japan steps in and they try to weaken the yen, and then the charts say otherwise, and they're not able to do that, of course, again, the charts always tell the story, and we go with what happens. But we have to have an idea in our head of what we expect will happen. If that does happen, if the Bank of Japan intervenes, if the Bank of Japan comes in and intervenes and then the yen strengthens, okay, then at that point, I'm going to be getting long the yen for sure, because I think we'll take out the lows then at that point eventually. Volatility is king. Yeah, let's the WTI. So a couple of things. First, let's look at price, because price is king. So I had a short down over here, down here. I guess it was around 21.44, and then I got stopped out at 22. It looks like we've peaked up into this area of resistance. You can see this yellow line over here. If you extend it, that's kind of where we caught up, and now we're trading back down. So headlines, and I can only tell you headlines, is that Russia and Saudis have come to a truce. I have to read up on that. I didn't get a chance yet. I do know that Trump spoken to first the king of Saudi Arabia last week. He spoke to Putin this week, and it seems to me that I think the biggest move here is that the U.S. started actually filling up their reserves, their oil reserves, probably putting a little bit of bid under this, but this doesn't look like a rebound to me, and it doesn't look like any type of positive price action to me. Now, let's actually draw this in over here. Because what does have to occur for this to start looking bullish? All right. So far, we're being rejected over here into this resistance. If we do, uh, if we do roll over here to the downside, let's see what the daily looks like. By the way, mm, I would trade it on the 8 hour. I'm no there's much more interesting things going on in my view. But if we start making a lower low here, I would get involved. A lot of people, because of the headlines, are very bullish on WTI today. I'm not. I would consider, if you start making lower lows, shorting this and getting a good entry. There's a possibility we come back down and test the lows and or break them. If we break the lows here with this type of move, catching traders on the wrong side, it just added some more fuel. There's a good chance we break down. Now, get back above this area of resistance. Okay, then at that point, start making new highs today. At that point, it could be a momentum play, and then we could start trading back up. We could try to trade up, and the next level could be $25. It still looks pretty poor. Is there a chance we come back into 28.55? That's strong resistance. If we do, that would be nice. The fact of the matter is the demand for oil is not there, and the supply is, there's oversupply. All right, that fundamentals are fundamentals. There's a lack of demand and there's an oversupply. So this might be an interesting place to lean into here and short. Price takes you back into that trade. Equity markets back to mixed on the day. That's interesting. No, I was just playing off your words, Panero. I was just playing off your words. Dollar's king, volatility is king, price is king. Just continue to one up each other there. That's all. In honor of our friend Panero, let's take a look at the pound Japanese yen right now. Let's see what's going on. I thought we were going to be trading lower. The pound. Oh, look at that. That's nasty. That's a nasty fall right there. I took a beautiful short over on the break over here, came back in and actually stopped me out at the top, at break even at the top tick, and then waterfall down. We have not broken lower than that. We actually, oh, right now we're back at it. This looks pretty sideways, just like the pound US dollar does. So it's better just to hang in there, wait for a breakdown. It looks like it'll break down, but wait for a break of the range before getting involved right now. Again, there's just so many other better opportunities today. S&Ps were traded up, then down, then back up to 0.5%, then back down, and now trading their highs. I just want to get a quick look over here for myself to see what a 30-minute chart looks like. Yep. So like I said, I won't be surprised. I mean, market should be trading down with the numbers we've seen today. Wouldn't be surprised if anything that happens. But they still look pretty bad to me. I'm not getting sucked in. Dollar strong today. Let's look at the US dollar, Canadian dollar. And I just want to get a price quote here on the US dollar and Mexican peso. All right. So the US dollar, Canadian dollar. Now, some people are wondering why, with oil rebounding, the Canadian dollar is still under pressure. First of all, I have no idea what Canadian crude is doing today, and whether or not that is rebounding. That would be more important here. And really, WTI is only up, what is it, 5%, 4%. Which is really not something to write home about after being obliterated over the past month. So, but this is a dollar story, a US dollar story. And Canadian dollar, with every good reason, continues to take it bluntly. Have the wrong word there. Australian dollar Swiss franc is a similar story to the New Zealand dollar Swiss franc. It's trading a little bit lower today, so I want to look at the Australian dollar US dollar to see what's happening there. But again, uh, this is consolidating, and I was telling you that you should not be involved in a trade that's consolidating. Now, I already took the short, you know, I already took the short. So I'm holding this short, and I'm going to hold it until my stop loss is hit, and also lean back in here against this resistance if we get up to it, and or this one. I believe a month of April could be pretty ugly. We are in a risk off environment that should be worsening. Not until I see worldwide infections increasing could I have the potential to start looking at perhaps any type of rebound in the markets. However, at the same time, I'm really closely watching any type of information that we can't get any clear information out of, looking for secondary waves of infections, which it looks to me is happening. It looks to me is happening inside China, but not anything out of control right now. Pressure continues to be on the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen over there, but that trade has long since come and gone. Oh, I wanted to look at the Australian dollar, US dollar. Now, nothing's breaking down over here. This is actually, I can't say that. I have to look at the Australian dollar, Japanese yen too. But definitely coming in firmer than the Swiss franc. But we do expect the US dollar to be firmer than the Swiss franc in a risk off type environment. This trade looks beautiful. This is like a slow motion train wreck happening, it looks like to me. Come all the way down into the heavy resistance over here and are now falling off of it. Will this continue accelerating? It could if the dollar picks up over here. I think this is an area to draw in for support, to watch for the first area of possible take profits. That would be down over here at 0.58593. See how price reacts if we get back down into there. Now, the dollar is definitely firm today in bid, except I don't expect a straight line to the upside. I do, or would like even to see a test of that breakout, and let's see if that holds. If this is for my own benefit here, if we get a breakout and then a failed breakout, which would be trading back below this trend line here to the downside, that will be a clear sign to get out of these dollar long trades for me. Now, bigger picture things, I have to be very concerned and aware of why I'm looking for that strong dollar play, and I'm looking for a test of the highs up here at the least, and maybe possibly newer highs. I don't know how long it's going to take for that to play out. I am also concerned about the dollar weakening at any point, and if the U.S. is the only one standing in here weak in their currencies, I don't think that's going to be the case after next week and the Bank of Japan comes in. But if the U.S. is the only one weakening their currency, we're going to see a weaker dollar, right? So even though my base case is a stronger dollar here, I'm very easily willing to flip on that if I see the dollar weakening, because there are motions in play that could definitely, weaken the dollar. So I don't want to get caught off guard over here. I'm always aware of the other side of the play that I'm taking, and it could go either way. Makes it a little bit easier maybe to play gold, and then there's the thought that, oh well, gold versus all currencies is gold is going to gain. Yeah, that could be the case, but we don't know what's going to happen versus the dollar initially. Market's now rebounding nicely off of this bad news. There seems to be a lot of momentum there. I think I'm doing a little bit for my own benefit here. I apologize. Well, I have that alert in up here at 25, 15.8, and I'm just gonna continue. We have to break above there for me to believe that we have some further upside momentum. But price action is price action, and since the markets opened over the 40 minutes ago, markets in pre-market took down the low of yesterday and then have since reversed. So that's pretty bullish price action. That's pretty bullish price action. WTI now above 22. Just trying to get my bearings here, looking around. US dollar, Swiss franc. We haven't checked in on that yet today. I'm seeing a bit of risk. Is the possibility that the markets believe that these are the worst of the numbers? I can't imagine that. And the reason why I can't imagine that, I'm trying to figure out what the market is doing here, what the market is trying to price in. And the reason why I can't believe that is because, you know, I believe that employers, good employers, I'm talking about small private businesses here. They probably, are able to pay their employees through April and then May. If this is still an ongoing situation at the end of May, I think they're going to have to start thinking about further extended layoffs. We saw the initial hit here. This is mostly probably, obviously you have the travel industry, you have hotels, motels, obviously restaurants, which are an enormous part of the economy. This is where you're seeing the initial layoffs. If things do not improve, whereas people could actually safely go back to work, and the whole distancing thing needs to stop, things are going to get worse. Also want to check out some headlines over here. And the dollar has come back down now and getting close to testing this area of a breakout. All right, where are all you at today? Let me check in over here. Can we check the Australian dollar, US dollar? I'm not sure if that was before or after we looked at it, Nima. So let's go. Yeah, that is irrational. I'm just trying not to get very irrational about it myself. Let's look at them both. Let's look at the euro, Australian dollar first, and then we'll go back in and we'll look again at the Australian dollar, US dollar. All right. Euro Australian dollar, this definitely looks bullish to me. This looks bullish to me. We've come down. Obviously, all of us could see it. Remember this day? What was this, 1,000 pip move, like out of nowhere in seconds, and then totally retraced, right? So just kind of remove this from your mind a little bit, except for the fact that, hey, that we come back up here and test this. Let's see what happens with Australia. I do hear good news out of Australia that most of their cases came from foreigners. There's a little bit of community spread over there, but not too much. And the things as far as the big V seem to be really pretty positive. So that's really good. Nevertheless, Australian dollar is against the US dollar. I expect much lower lows long term. I'm bullish here as we come in here, hold this support, and are now resuming off of it. Now, if we start making higher highs over here, let's look at the 8-hour. Yep, I'm bullish, although this could sincerely go either way. You're definitely consolidating here above what I have as support. I'm just trying to look where it would have to roll over for me to become bearish on it. As much as I'm bullish on it, I really don't like the trade. So if we started seeing some extra fundamental reasons, like the banking system is so terrible, but in Australia, but you do have precious metals going to be on the rise, and there's a big, strong uh, mining sector in Australia. So that's really good for the Aussies. Things in Europe look terrible to me, but if things start falling apart in China again, then I would get more bullish here. I just don't like it personally. I don't see. I see so many more interesting things going on. So again, this does look like it's just simply rolling over to me. Looking here at the Australian dollar, US dollar, we had the big move down, retrace up into strong resistance, and then now it's rolling over. It looks like a slow motion train wreck. It's not falling down, but it looks like it's just rolling over, and that momentum could pick up. I think we just placed it on a different chart. Look, pull it up right here for you, where you could look for the first area of possible area of take profit and to see how price reacts over down here, at 0.58633. That's the area I think that we look like we're slowly moving down into. Again, I remain dollar bull here until proven wrong. And right now, you don't want to be. There's no reason to look for stepping in here, taking a counter trend here on the Australian dollar, US dollar. Get back above this resistance here and trade above it. All right, then you have potential for possibly a few hundred pips there, but not right now. This remains pretty bearish. Yep. Yeah. Speaking of which, we had a close friend of the family's brother die this week of the big C, and yeah, he wasn't in good shape. He was actually probably the most highest risk. Someone that's overweight. Fitting that age bracket, things like that. Um, and we knew a few young people in their early 30s. You know, Iron Woman, who's won many titles, and a sick marathoner who's run on a marathon on 5 continents, and both of those girls recovered relatively fairly well and quickly, but you know, still dangerous out there. The pound US dollar, you want to look at again. Before we do, Wilford, here's what we're looking at over here on this breakout of the dollar this morning. Before we get into the pound US dollar, we have over here a breakout of this triangle pattern over here, right? And then we're coming back in and testing this. Just watch it. Don't be fearful, Wilford. Watch the test over here. If this holds and we start breaking up to the upside, all right, right? That's a pretty strong indication we're going to see some further upside over here. If this fails, and by fail meaning it comes back and crosses this trend line to the downside, well, then that's a clear indication over here that this was a fake out. It looks to me like a fake out on the US dollar, and that we might, I would get out of my US dollar longs. Pound US dollar. Now this has been strong relative today to a strong US dollar. And this is why I said don't get into this trade yet. Let me look at this on the 8 hour with you first. Right now, you're trading down and you're into this area of resistance. This is consolidating. This is neutral. There's no reason to be involved in a trade here. Really simple and easy. Wait for the next leg, whether it's up or down. Who cares which way it is? There's potential on both sides, whether it breaks up or down. Look, you have these two levels in over here. You have the resistance at 1.2495 and the support at 1.2297. Wait for set an alert on both of them. Wait for the price to break out and then get involved in that trade. But right now, it's completely neutral. What it should do, right? You've traded it into resistance. It should break down. The dollar should continue to strengthen, but that's only how things should happen. It doesn't mean that they're going to happen like that. And if you do take out this resistance to the upside, well, then I think that we could definitely trade up further and be looking. That's a few hundred pips, or 250 pips at least to the upside. So just wait for a price to let you know what's happening there. Early morning also, by the way, is when the plunge protection team comes in here and takes, you know, does their little action, and then again late in the day. So, let's see if this move holds or not, right? Now, of course, you have the whole, jobless claims were phenomenally bad today. And, you know, the market makers, they like to get a lot of people on the wrong side of the markets. Um, I don't know though. I'm very mixed about what could happen. One thing's for sure though, gold and silver a bid, and that's beautiful to see. I do see, by the way, gold right now trading, because earlier today when I looked at gold, I was like, yeah, I'm more bullish silver. But look at this. Gold is into this area of resistance right now, right over here. And let's see how price reacts today. If let's see how price reacts today. Let's see if it could reclaim this area. You could see the bottom of that support over there. That's the local term resistance right here. Let's see if price gets back up into this area or if it's rejected here. That's what I'm watching. That's for my next little clue on gold. No, um, I, Gustavo, I do not think that at all. I don't think there's any indication whatsoever that any type of recovery is even close to taking form or shape. Absolutely not. I think we're so far from a recovery that we can't even talk about a recovery yet, right? We could begin to talk about a recovery at the earliest time would be when perhaps stocks infections stop rising. That would be the earliest time that we could even consider even talking about a possible recovery, although it doesn't look like we're going to see a recovery anytime soon. And penny stocks would absolutely not be the way to play that. Penny stocks are penny stocks for a reason. It's because that you're looking at balance sheets that are just absolutely horrendous. You're looking at a lot of small businesses that are going to absolutely fail during this time. Listen, there's no one out in the street buying things. And not only that, the psyche of the average person has turned to cautious, saver. I need to protect myself, right? You're going to see a lot of businesses fail, and probably, you want to be in there if you want to play penny stocks, shorting penny stocks, right? But I can't see much opportunity in penny stocks at all right now. Listen, if you were looking for a recovery, right, then you could look towards the Russell, right? Because obviously the Russell is what led on the way down, is because you're dealing with smaller businesses who are not able to weather things as well as the larger ones. But we're not even close to talking about any type of recovery in the equity markets whatsoever. And 72, I think, is also dependent on what happens here with the dollar, right? So if the dollar holds this breakout today, right, come back down to I'm looking here at the 1 hour. Well, I'm looking for where you could see a resumption. I don't know, maybe even on the 4 hour. The dollar so far is holding that breakout. If this does indeed hold, I can't get even a clear read on a time frame here. If you start making higher highs, if you take out 125 and this momentum continues and this does hold this breakout, which it could go either way. I have no idea. At that point, then probably the pound US dollar is going to break down, and if it breaks down and then there's going to be some momentum and that thing could then start to slip as well. If it breaks out to the upside, there's room in there for actually a play to the long side. From here we are. If it breaks out to the upside, you got room over there. You could get a nice sustained move. That would mean the dollar breakout failed maybe, and then you could see definitely a big move here. But I'm leaning towards this breaking down to the downside. This will be the first area to look for taking profit. But right now, there's no play. There's no edge. That's as simple as it could be. There's no edge. You're consolidating, right? You're consolidating. You don't know which way it's gonna break. Wait for the break. Mining stocks. I don't know if you have any Gold Rush fans in here. I'm a big Gold Rush fan. I love watching those guys going to work, working the ground, putting together those operations, taking that money out of the ground. But can you imagine when gold's trading at 2,500? Because if you think about it, there's only a limited amount of land up there, up in the Yukon, right? There's only so much gold in the ground, and it gets harder and harder to get. So it's really interesting there. You can see that correlation between the difficulty of getting that gold out of the ground and the price rising. So this fantastic market for trading, fantastic market, and we saw that picking up back in, I think, early December, and that only accelerated in January, and then even more in February until last month it just exploded. You see it pulled back a little bit, but volatility is still high. I think that this is nothing more than a pause. It's not even a pause. There's so much opportunity out there, and it's been real nice. Yeah, Parker just crushes it. Parker just crushes it. I don't understand why those other miners don't take a look at his operation and how he does it and try to, copy that. This is our big jump up in the S&P. I'm gonna put up a 5 minute candle. All right, but here we are coming into an area of resistance over here. You could see it. This will be interesting now to see how price reacts. The US dollar is picking up off of its little retrace after the breakout. It's putting up a pretty strong day versus the yen, the dollar today. It's definitely all over the euro. And this is the wild card here, the US equities. Which are just, I wonder if the equities are of this headline right here is helping the US equities. Well, I have to be honest here. Price is king. I don't know what's going to happen here because we're at the area where she could stall. She's up a lot. There's no question about it. I want to do protect profits over here. I have the entry at 26.18. I don't want to give back all that profit because you could see in the last, given back 70 points just in the last 1 hour or less. Yeah, 1 hour. I'll check out the euro Canadian dollar in just a moment here. I'm watching price right here on the S&P for just a couple more minutes. Euro Canadian dollar. I'm gonna start here on the daily time frame just so you get an idea of what is going on. And so this is a little bit difficult to play. And when I say difficult, the reasons I say that is because you could see this. Ooh, is that even a bear flag, a bull flag? Possibly, you know. So just trying to think this through. Is there a possibility that we see if we get a real see Trump expects Russia to cut 10 to 15 million of barrels per day. So would that affect the oil market? Yes. I read an oil executive yesterday saying that the world would need to cut 28 million barrels a day in order to bring over the next 90 days supply back into the current demand situation. So I guess that gets you a little bit more than halfway there, or about halfway there, depending if they went closer to the high number. Is that a possibility that could help out the Canadian dollar? Sure, for sure. I don't think the euro's in a good place over here either. This this is a pretty big range though. There's a lot of choppiness. choppiness is definitely a little bit hard. The momentum is definitely now right here strongly with the Canadian dollar. Is just looking at a price quote, what's it doing versus the US dollar right now, and you could see that the US dollar is still stronger, but the Canadian dollar making back some of its gains. I don't know if whether or not this is something that's going to be this little bit of headline movement we're seeing. Well, WTI is now up 24. It is what it is, right? So anyone who's taking a momentum play on the Canadian dollar right now, get on you. I agree with you. I'm not short any Canadian dollar pairs, so I'm not really worried about it. And there's my signal. I'm just gonna exit. I'm with y'all. Sorry about that silence. Things jammed up here a second. DXY. All right. Sorry, a bunch of alerts and actions coming up over there. So WTI, first of all, is really liking that news. Now up 20. That's what I say, 22%. Really taking off over here. Got to give it to Trump, right? So you got to give it to Trump. When the man wants to do something, the man does something. Saudi Arabia and Russia locked into a live trade war over oil. Uh, U.S. shale, the casualty, and he steps in there. Saudi Arabia didn't want to do anything. He talks to Putin, and all of a sudden, things got done. Got to give it to the guy. Love him or hate him, you got to give it to him. Although I doubt they'll actually cut production as well, you got to trade what's happening. Got to trade what's happening, and right now, definitely the markets are all over it, loving it. I think that for FX, the Canadian dollar. Look at the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen up 1.37 now. Canadian dollar is definitely the play. I'm kind of, although I exited my S and P's, I am letting letting the fire clear a little bit over here. US dollar is definitely taking some big gains back versus the yen. Um, it's wild out there. It was a tough day for me in the fact that with those numbers this morning, right? So I played this so beautifully, like a like a fiddle. Got short all the way up here at 26.18 and on the first, and then I took another one around 25.88. I had two nice size positions here short the S&Ps. This morning, it was just looking like the possibility was there that they could continue just roaring into profit. Like I said, headed towards a grand slam, and I had to come over here and take profits. And yeah, I don't know if it was 80 and 100 points, which are great trades on the S&P, but gave back 100 points over the last hour and went from a home run to a nice double or triple. But I was really thinking that those really was going to be a sunshiny day. Again, I don't want to get caught up in the volatility over here uh, on anything, whether it's WTI, whether it's the Canadian dollar, or the S&Ps at this point. I'd rather just stick to my dollar trades right now because it's volatile out there, and volatility could get you caught up on the wrong side of the market really quickly. Here we have the test now of the support. Let's find out if it holds. Bitcoin making a run right now. Again, I'm looking around between 81 and 84, call it, 83, but anywhere in that neighborhood. Gold and silver continue to shine right now. There's a an awesome series on Amazon Prime, Jack Ryan season 2, all about it takes place in Venezuela. Highly recommend watching it. And the opening of season of the first episode of season 2, which is like a monologue on Venezuela, whether it's the first 5 or 10 minutes, is awesome. Highly, 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 highly recommend that. Yeah, DJ, crazy, 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 crazy skates, and you know, uh, well, if anything is true, it looks like I might have sold the top of the move on the S&Ps to exit my positions. So whatever, that's a runaway train that I don't want to get involved in. I'm gonna actually now stand aside completely and wait until things become obviously clear, which they no longer are. I have to be honest, I was having super fun writing those shorts down. I was looking for a grand slam. Listen, if you don't look for the grand slams, you can never hit one. If you're not swinging for the fences, you're never going to put one out of the park, and you're not going to put everyone out of the park as well, right? But the one big difference between Babe Ruth, right, and a trader, Babe Ruth was looking for that home run on every pitch. You got to be looking to hit singles and doubles, and only just at certain times really swing hard. BJ, yeah, watch out for the movement police out there. Watch out for your neighbors. Hope no one tells on you. So, and by the way, just since that was this is a perfect moment to really enforce it. Don't get emotional when you start seeing the pound flying. I mean the Canadian dollar flying. You know, you, you could exit your trade, but don't jump in and be like, oh, it's going up. I got to get involved in it going up. Like you could get wrecked in this type of environment, right? If you're in a trade that's falling into favor, okay, hold it, but don't be careful about getting whipsawed around. You know, be careful about getting whipsawed around. What was the level we were looking at here? That if we broke this morning, we are saying if we broke this level, we'd come back down at 28.55, right? That would be a level to lean into. How high have we got in 27.35? Let's see if we take out the highs. If we take out the highs, we take out this high and we get, you know, a little closer to 28. Let's see how price reacts. Maybe that's a good level to get short. And place an alert over here, right? We hit up 28, 27.97. Well, let me watch how price reacts. Because if we get rejected over here, do I want to get short? Maybe. This is a headline number, right? Trump expects. This is CNBC running a call from Trump. Are they going to cut it? Who knows? That's just market reacting. Let's see what happens. Oh, add top print. How does that song go? You got to know when to hold. You got to know when to fold. Dollar so far doing its best to hold that area of the breakout. Let's see what happens. Let's check in on my friend. First of all, the dollar's finally having, after I think 8 days, more or less, uh, a stronger day than the yen. That's interesting. The yen's probably weakening all around. That's more of a yen story, but the dollar remains strong versus the euro. Look at that spike up. Look at that spike up. Jesper, yen lose momentum. Going into next week, let's look at the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Hmm. Hmm. Again, you all know the Bank of Japan has me worried. What about Mima? Let's look at the New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. Yep. Still holding. I'm still holding. Don't chase after momentum. Don't chase after momentum. So, by the way, just really quick, what did gold do during that whole thing? Gold got bid. Gold spiked up. Here's the dollar though, and the dollar now looks like it's showing the first possible sign after the breakout, the retest of resuming upwards. All right. So you got to learn how to have that firm when you get into your trade, you have to know why you're getting into that trade, which has got to be a little bit of combination of not only, of course, we're technical analysis people. We look for what's happening on the charts. You got to have that little bit of awareness of what's going on in the market around you. So you're like, a twist of fundamentals, right? You got to know what's going on, and then you got to be headstrong not to get shaken out of your positions. You got to have defined levels. Got to have defined levels where you say, okay, things have changed. I'm getting them wrong. The US dollar looking good here. And I think this is a situation where you have both gold, dollar come off, gold coming off a tiny bit on this dollar strength, but Bitcoin making its move. Do I have anyone with me, or did I lose you all? Or are you guys rightfully so managing your books? That's okay. So is it me, or do these guys have inside information? Right? bad jobless numbers, disastrous jobless numbers. Come in here, take out the low of the day, and then like, do they all get a text message? Are they using Signal app or something? Does Trump, direct DM Muchin, hey, let everyone know. I'm gonna be calling CNBC. I'm gonna tell them that I told Russia and Saudi to go ahead and cut 10 to 15 million barrels a day. And then like, does everyone like position up over here and then like makes the call? How does that work? Beautiful time. Like, good on your timing. Not like, good on your timing. Hey, listen, you have a couple of things going for you here. You have the strong US dollar today, which was before all this madness stronger than the yen. The yen is weakened up a little on this. And then you have, going into next week, the Bank of Japan ready to act. Right? How do I get us on that list? Uh, it's suckered out of my position. Hey, I had my alert. They took out the highs. They took out the highs. I got out, and now they brought it back down. Hey, what could you do? It is though. Hold on a second. I just want to. What I'm seeing here is the breakout and then a test back into resistance right now. sorry, test into support. Break of resistance up towards this area of resistance, back down into this area of support. Let's see if we rally back up. Let's see if we could, let's see if we do rally, and let's see if we take out the 620 resistance, 620, what is that, 2830 level. Let's see if this rally's got some legs to it. All right, things have settled in a little bit now. Ooh, dollar really making back some gains versus the yen. Glad I stay away from the yen. All right, everyone. Beautiful session. I'm glad we're here together for all that madness and being able to navigate it together. But going into that, it was a really, 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 really good session. And I think this is a good place for us to call it a day. Another one that I enjoyed, and I hope you did as well. Hey, thanks for all of you who've gone ahead and did go ahead and hit that like button. I do appreciate it. Google doesn't show us any love. I think it was because, I think what happened was the views went down by like 2/3 over the time that kept talking about the big C. But we had to. That's what we do. We need to be aware of what's going on in the world. And I know that they're trying to censor a lot of videos that have to do with that, but that's fine. Throughout all of this, all that happened was that our group actually got a lot tighter, and that's cool. So everyone, absolutely, peace and keep healthy. I'll talk to y'all later.